Now with that, now that we've established the whole situation, let's bring on Cam to talk about this further. Because as I said, I saw these videos and I said, well, damn, I know him. All right, so Cam, you're back on the show. This time you're not in the producer's bay. So welcome. Where are you right now?
Thanks. I'm in New York. I'm in a hotel, not in the producer's bay.
Are you unwinding a little bit, relaxing after your tumultuous time at TSU?
Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah,
Yeah, you have to
drove
run
up.
me through like what you were going through here because you came up on my TikTok page. It was one of these students posting you, and of course they zoom in on your face, and all of a sudden I'm having this realization that okay, this is Cam. And I know you travel around to universities to have these discussions. In this moment, what are you feeling? Because you don't really get a lot of time to address the camera or to speak about what's happening. How did this all go down, and how'd you feel?
Yeah. So we've been going to college campuses across the United States, especially after Charlie died, to kind of keep the message alive and show people that we're not afraid to have conversations, both the right and the left. And we went to TSU, which was the first historically black college that we went to, and I think it probably won't be the last now. And we show up, and the campus is dead. There's nobody. I mean, we thought about packing up and leaving because when we first stepped foot on the campus, there was nobody. And one of my business partners actually looked at me and said, we might as well just tell the security to go home. Like, there's no reason that nothing's going to happen here. And so we go and we set up the table, we set up the microphones, we set up the signs, and one person comes up, or I guess it was a group of two, come up and they start having a conversation with us, and we're just talking about DEI and racism in the United States and stuff like that. And it was honestly one of the most civil conversations that I've had on the whole tour. I mean, I was laid back. I think I'm probably mostly because I was tired. And all of a sudden, this angry mob starts to form. And then the police come, the campus police, and they kind of tell us, like, you're supposed to get a permit. And we're like, yeah, but it's a public university. This is, the First Amendment. And they're like, yeah, you're right. And then they kind of just like hung around and protected us. And the mob grew and grew and grew to the point where it was like 500 people. And they just started pushing closer and closer until we were completely surrounded. And we decided, well, we're not going to get anything productive done today, so we might as well leave. And the police flanked us on the way out. And I mean, they were stealing our signs. And you see in the videos, they have these BLM signs. Those are our signs. They ripped them up, stole our Sharpies, and wrote on them. And then they follow us to the car. We get in the car. They're yelling at my security guard, by the way, who is black. And they're, basically calling him a race traitor and stuff. And we get in the car, and then they surround the car. They get in their cars. They block us onto the campus. And they're throwing stuff at the car, banging on the windows. It's crazy.
Yeah, was there any sort of like tipping point? Because as you said, you started with some pretty civil discussions and then these people just sort of congregate. Was there any moment where you knew like, oh, this is going to go down? I know in the video footage you see a sign gets stolen and you walk up to sort of get it back and a guy gets in your face and is like, don't do that. And immediately you're like, okay, this is going to go somewhere different. What happened there?
Yeah, the tipping point was where the first sign was stolen. Once somebody does it, then everyone's going to do it. And they started stealing other stuff. And then the mob realized they can do whatever they want, and there's more of them than there are the police. And at first, we didn't think it was going to go this way because at every campus we go to, a large crowd forms of anywhere from like 30 to 100 people. This is not out of the ordinary for us, but usually it's very civil. We have a speaker, like a giant JBL, and both the guest and us speak on it. And that usually keeps the audience pretty quiet because they're just listening to the conversation. But in this case, they went ballistic, and very quickly after the first sign was stolen, it totally devolved. There was one guy who had a screwdriver and he was holding it backhanded like a weapon as he was talking to my debate partner, David. And we didn't even realize he had a screwdriver because there's so much going on around us that this guy's right next to us with a weapon and we don't even realize it's in his hand.
Yeah, I mean, and things can change so quickly. I can imagine how like that it's got to induce fear of some sort. Were you scared? Were you guys kind of kept it cool and you kind of kept filming, you kept yourself collected pretty well? What were you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, you know me, like very low pressure situations for me are very high pressure.
Mhm.
I kind of freak out when it's like a room and it's calm. But for
Mhm.
me, when the adrenaline's rushing and I'm in the middle of what is essentially a riot, that's when I'm like pretty much at my prime.
Right. The zone kicks in. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And I'm insane. What's insane about this, because you just described that as a riot, which anybody who's watching this video could basically see that that's what's taking place. I mean, they're
Mhm.
hitting your car, they're throwing middle fingers at you, they're trying to block your car as you're trying to leave. And of course, we've gotten to the university response. We've already read that for the audience here. The university claims that they conducted themselves in a professional and respectful manner. That's the quote there. And they've actually called you guys out and said that you guys were on the campus unauthorized and that it's actually essentially your fault. They've blamed you for what's taken place.
Yeah.
And essentially said, well, nothing has taken place. What's your take on that? What's the whole background with the permitting and being allowed to be on the campus?
Yeah, they actually sent an email to the alumni, and their alumni leaked it to me, where they called us hostile, even though we just sat down and we're actually having a very nice conversation with one of the young
Mm-hmm.
men who walked up and talked to us. And I mean, my take is just like, it's on video. We live streamed the whole thing. We
Mm-hmm.
recorded the whole thing. There were at least 8 separate cameras recording the whole thing. And then you can see from my camera angles, the whole mob is also recording. It's like, this is not something you're going to be able to contain. So why lie about it? Why not just say, we condemn the actions of our students? And this wouldn't be such a big story, because really what made us very upset about this and push it 10 times harder was because the school blamed us and said that their students acted respectfully and professionally. What is professional and respectful about what they did? Basically pushing us off a public campus. We didn't have a permit. We try to call the universities, all of them, before we show up and let them know that we're coming. And they're usually very accommodating. They're public campuses. We don't really go to private campuses unless we can get in touch with some CRs that can hook us up with an invitation.
Mm-hmm.
But we call the public campuses, and they usually are very accommodating. The administration just comes out and says, "Okay, well, I hope you guys are doing well." And yep, this is it. Like Clemson did that, UNC Charlotte, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And but this administration, we called them, and they sent us straight to voicemail before we came. And then the police came and gave us the numbers to the administration as well. And again, we called 3 times and straight to voicemail. So
Mm-hmm.
there wasn't a way to get permission to come to this campus either way. And but it's a public campus, so we just, this is our First Amendment right, so we showed up and we did that. And even if there was a justification to kick us off campus for not having a permit, that's the duty of the administration, not the student body, to remove us in a violent manner. If a police officer would have come down and given us a lawful order to leave, we would have done so immediately.
Right. It seems like you
But they
guys
didn't.
were very willing, even when the situation was getting tense. You're like, okay, we're gonna get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
we're gonna do it. Just somebody allow us to do it smoothly and safely. And the students, interestingly enough, you say in the video, or somebody says in the video, you want us gone, but you're also trying to keep us here. So in
Yeah.
that sort of high pressure situation, what are you meant to think is going to happen?
Well, I mean, it's this university is in a rough neighborhood, so like that's also
Mm-hmm.
a factor. Is like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know who's around or who's going to do what, or we've already seen them with screwdrivers. They've damaged the vehicle. What's next? Why are they driving in front of us so slow, or at times even completely stopped? And it was obviously like they were holding us up for some reason. And it
Right.
is a contradiction. Why are you yelling at us to leave and doing this with your hand, like pointing to the exit to the campus, but you're not letting us leave?
Yeah, you guys are better than me. I would have hightailed it out of there when I saw that crowd forming. I thought this is not the situation for me. And I'm wondering, now that we have the university responding publicly, they of course know who you are. All this footage is out there. You're named in it, as well as the other men who are in this whole situation with you. Are there going to be any repercussions based off what's happened? Has anybody spoken to you at all about this?
Yeah, we're definitely pursuing some avenues. I'll say that. There will likely be repercussions for the university, more so than just the social repercussions they've already felt with their statement that has 16 million views and barely any likes. Another funny thing too is like, a lot of people are on me. Why would you choose to go to an HBCU? Why would you choose to go to an HBCU? And we keep saying like, we first of all, we didn't even know it was an HBCU until like the night before. The reason we chose that university is because it's one of the few public universities in Nashville. You have Vanderbilt and Belmont, which are both private, and then TSU is public, and so that's why we chose it, not because it's an HBCU. But even if we did choose it because it was an HBCU, who cares? Do you want us to exclude Black people from the conversation?
Right.
I think this actually only galvanizes me to want to go to more HBCUs, because I think Black people should be included in the conversation, and I'm not going to be intimidated away from public spaces.
Yeah, and it's interesting that in the wake of what's happened to Charlie Kirk and his assassination, a lot of people have been accusing him of being a racist, of being anti-Black. And in the same way that you've just made that statement, you can find similar statements being made by Charlie. And I think it's really interesting imagery to now see white men go to a campus to have civil debate with Black students, and then Black students sort of corralling them out of the campus. And you look at that imagery and you think, okay, well, we've apparently we're in an age of progress, but we've regressed back to this new form of like anti-white racism. And the imagery is right there in the video. And the fact the university is not acknowledging that is just insane.
Hey, they're calling me 2025 Ruby Bridges. So
Okay. It's amazing. That's amazing.
Civil rights leader of
What
our
a
time right here.
moment. Like, what do you think needs to happen moving forward so that you can do something like this at a campus like TSU and have it be successful?
I don't know. I mean, I mean, I want these people to know that we're really there in good faith to just have a conversation. Like a lot of people are just saying we came there to incite or intimidate, but I think the footage is very clear, and that's why we posted this video that actually starts with the conversation we were having with the first guy.
Mm-hmm.
So civil on both sides, and
Mm-hmm.
then slow, like then it's kind of a time lapse. You see the mob form, and then out of nowhere they start stealing our signs, and like it just evolves very quickly, and it shows the whole thing, how it started and how it ended. And it's like I just want these people to know that we're like genuinely there for a conversation. We don't want to incite. It's not a we don't hate you. We disagree on DAI. And one of the big things I was talking to the first person about was DEI is not good for black people. I mean, or women, right? I know lots of people who are in a role because they were hired for what they look like, and they have imposter syndrome because they don't feel like they belong in the role that they're in because they know they weren't hired for their qualifications but for their characteristics, and that's racist. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a violation of the Civil Rights Act and the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause, and we should work towards, as they say, a society of anti-racism. And I think banning DEI, which is what our sign called for, is working towards that objective. And they say, well, why? DEI is already banned. Why are you? Or DEI is not banned. Like affirmative action is banned, and a lot of DEI practices have been clamped down on. But even if it was banned, it doesn't change the fact that people still support it. And so we're keeping the conversation alive, so we can have
Mm-hmm.
a lasting change and not just oh, it's banned, but when a Democrat gets back in office, it comes back.
Right, 100%. And like the fact that you can't, interestingly enough, like what you said is technically anti-racist. And what they did and how they responded is actually what racism looks like. And you are going to run into this on many a college campus, I think, and you already have in doing this. And it does speak to the state of higher education and just the university systems at large, and how these are largely becoming like indoctrination camps for young people who are, well, young adults who are conducting themselves in this way. And I've seen a lot of people in response to your videos saying like the Trump administration needs to pull funding from these HBCUs. Like clearly these are not successful engagements, establishments. Do you have any thoughts on that after your experience?
Yeah, so I think the graduation rate of Tennessee State University is 32%. So,
Okay.
irregardless of the riot, the race riot, because they were shouting anti-white stuff at us, I would say any institution that can't keep its graduation rate over 50% shouldn't receive a single federal tax dollars, HBCU or
Mm,
not. It doesn't, I don't
mm,
care if it's an all white school, right? You shouldn't be getting any tax money if you can't keep your graduation rate over 50% because you're basically just funneling money to a bunch of students who are never going to graduate the university.
mm-hmm,
And it's a waste. And that university needs to do better. It's an administrative problem and a misallocation of the resources they currently have. And evidently, the people running their social medias aren't very bright, given the statement that they made related to our situation.
yeah, I mean, it's abundantly clear whatever's happening at that university is not good, and it shines in the behavior and the actions of the students here. You said you're going to other universities moving forward. What changes after this moment? I saw the little fund our security fund at the bottom because I imagine securities being upped in the wake of everything that's happening in the news, let alone your experience here.
Yeah, I mean, not much has changed. We're just going to keep doing exactly what we've been doing. We'll probably, as we raise more money with the GiveSendGo that we have on our socials, we'll have a bigger budget for hiring more security. We had one guard at TSU, so in the future, it might be a good idea to have more. But if things get rowdy, the universities usually send the police, so that's a little safety there. But like at TSU, if there's a mob like that, they outnumber the police, so it becomes still difficult. So yeah, I mean that's the goal is just continue exactly how we have been. We're not deterred. I had a detour for some meetings. That's why we haven't hit the universities in the past couple of days, but
Mhm.
we're not stopping because of that.
I love to hear that. And you're continuing to want to have civil discussion. I guess this is like a final question here. A lot of these TSU students, I bet, are going to be keeping you on their radar. I imagine they're hopping on your socials. I imagine they're commenting. They're certainly posting on TikTok and X right now. If you could speak to any of the 500 you said who were there to mob you and riot against what you had to say, what would you say to them now?
I would say I'm impressed by how quickly you all came together. You're welcome for bringing your campus together against a common goal. But seriously, we want to have conversations with you. We don't hate you. We're not racist. We're not anti-black. We're not anti-woman. We're not anti-anything. I mean, we are anti some stuff like DEI, right? We just want to have a conversation about differing opinions. It's not about anything racial. It's just about I have an opinion and you have a different opinion. Let's talk about it and not hurt each other over those opinions. And that's what it's all about. We want to include Black voices, and yeah.
Well, Cam, I really appreciate that. Of course, we go back a long ways, so I had a feeling that was going to be your message to these students. I'm excited to see what you're doing and what you're going to do next. If you want to like let everybody know, as I'm sure they're going to want to keep up with you as things get crazier and crazier. What are you doing? What are your socials? How can they support you?
Yeah, you can find me at Cam Higby on all platforms, and our tour also has its own socials. The Fearless Tour, I think it's at Fearless Debates on all platforms. And yeah, I think we're not on YouTube yet. All of the content from the tour goes on my YouTube, but eventually we'll have one. Instagram and Twitter has Fearless, but Cam Higby and Fearless Debates. That's where we're at.
Awesome. Great. Cam, thanks for appearing on the show again. It's good to see you
Yeah,
again.
thanks for having me. It's good to see you.